Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Dennis Stockman, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 2, Megan White. We warmly welcome the family of Lieutenant Norman John Madden, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this National Memorial and Museum came to him at Pozieres, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lieutenant Norman John Madden. Norman Madden was born in March 1895 near Geelong, Victoria, the fifth of 8 children born to Patrick and Susan Madden. Before the outbreak of the First World War, Madden worked as an engineer driver and gained military experience by serving in the local military infantry unit. Madden enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 15th of January 1915 and started 5 months training at the Broadmeadows camp in Victoria. On the 10th of May 1915, he sailed from Melbourne bound for Egypt aboard the transport ship Ulysses. After a brief period of further training in Egypt, Madden transferred to Gallipoli, where he served in the 22nd Infantry Battalion, which formed part of the 6th Brigade of the 6th 2nd Australian Division. Madden arrived on Gallipoli in September 1915 as the campaign was coming to an end. He remained on the peninsula with his unit until the final evacuation of Anzac forces in December. After the evacuation of Gallipoli, the Australian Imperial Force transferred to Egypt and underwent a period of growth and reorganisation. Known as the doubling of the AIF, new troops from Australia were mixed with veterans of the Dardanelles campaign to ensure that new Australian units had a good mix of new and experienced soldiers. Madden remained with the 22nd Battalion and in March sailed for France and the war on the Western Front. Madden entered the trenches of the Western Front for the first time on the 31st of July 1916, while his unit was in the field during the bloody Battle of Pozieres. Just days after his arrival, on the 4th of August, Madden and the 22nd Battalion took part in a major attack on German lines. After a 3-minute-long bombardment, Australian troops assaulted the German trenches and successfully took their objectives, then proceeded to successfully defend against German counterattacks and artillery fire. Madden and the 22nd Battalion remained in the front trenches until the 6th of August, by which time the Australian 2nd Division, of which they were part, had suffered nearly 7,000 casualties in 12 days of fighting. For the next 7 months, Madden and the 22nd Battalion endured the hardships and terrors of trench warfare. They transferred from the Somme region of the northern France to the Ypres sector of Belgium and endured one of the coldest winters in living memory. The field diary of Madden's 22nd Battalion recorded in February 1917 that the freezing conditions turned the sea of mud into a shell-pitted wasteland of iron frost. Men required picks to shift the earth, and the long dark nights were broken by the sharp light of gunfire. In March 1917, Madden and the 22nd Battalion participated in the attack on German positions at Favreilles, northeast of Amiens, in France. In this successful joint British and Australian action, the troops attacked in the early hours of the morning under the cover of an intense artillery barrage. As the men charged the German positions, they came under heavy machine gun fire, and Madden was wounded by a gunshot to the neck. He was evacuated to hospital and did not rejoin his unit until the 21st of March. In September 1917, Madden and the 22nd Battalion moved north to the Ypres sector of Belgium. In October, they participated in some of Australia's bloodiest battles, including Brodsinde and Poelcapelle. In the unsuccessful attack at Poelcapelle, Australia suffered over 1,250 casualties in a single day. Throughout his service, Madden showed himself to be a reliable soldier, and he was promoted several times. By late 1917, he had reached the rank of lieutenant. Madden also showed himself to be a talented sportsman. At a battalion sports competition at Kemmel Huts in November 17, He excelled as one of the unit's best football players and easily won the 440-yard and 880-yard running races. At a brigade sports level competition in December 1917, he came second in the 880 and the 440. His battalion's field diary records that Lieutenant Madden showed himself to be a great athlete and did much to bring the battalion well forward in points. On the 19th of May 1918, Madden and the 22nd Battalion took part in a successful attack at Vieux-sur-Oncourt in northern France. The attack began at 2 a.m. after artillery barrage, and Madden's B Company formed the left flank of the advance. During the action, Madden was leading a fighting patrol to consolidate and protect the left flank when a German machine gun opened fire on the Australians. Madden single-handedly rushed the German gun, captured it, and took the crew prisoner. A second machine gun then opened fire, so Madden, with another soldier, made a second attack and again silenced the German machine gun. The capture of the German guns made the rest of the advance possible for his platoon. Madden was wounded in this action with a gunshot wound to the back, but despite his injuries, he remained on duty until the consolidation of the position was complete. Madden was hospitalised for these injuries, but did not rejoin his unit until July. He was awarded the Military Cross for his action, his citation reading that, by his dash and courage, he set a splendid example to his platoon. On the 18th of August 1918, Madden and the 22nd Battalion took part in the attack on the German lines in Eure-la-Ville, south of the Somme River. At 4:15, after a 2-minute bombardment, the Australian troops leapt into no man's land into heavy German machine gun fire. Soon after the attack began, Madden was near an area of the front known as the Crucifix Corner, and he was shot in the stomach and died instantly. He was 23 years old. Lieutenant Norman Madden is buried in the Heath Cemetery in France, where nearly 1,500 soldiers of the First World War now lie. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Norman John Madden, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his final moments, well, it's over, but in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and good evening.